those by Māori, for Māori approaches do deserve dedicated funding, because they're going to deliver healthcare to Māori in a way that's actually going to reach them. Māori can certainly expect to see that, making sure that we're dealing with those issues that have concerned Māori, like, poorer health outcomes, poorer educational outcomes, poorer housing outcomes. Will we be targeting those at the next election? Absolutely. The work we did around vaccination, for example, there's a lot of New Zealanders who never visited a marae until they went to get their COVID-19 vaccinations at a marae. We can't afford to simply say we're willing to settle for Māori having lower life expectancy, poorer health outcomes, poorer educational outcomes. We should be aiming to do something about that. Our focus will be a New Zealand, an Aotearoa New Zealand, where everyone's thriving. And that includes Māori, Pacifica alike. And it does mean addressing a lot of the disparities that continue, in some cases, to, if not get worse, at least they're not getting better. Māori have fought for a long time to have their rights recognised, and I think the compromise that we tried to reach with water reform, with the three waters as it was then known, was actually trying to recognise something that Māori have fought a long time for. Actually, Māori have fought for a long time to have their rights in water recognised under the treaty, and they've won that fight. There is legal recognition through the Waitangi Tribunal of that. Let's make sure that's reflected in the way we set up those water entities. People like Winston Peters, David Seymour, even Christopher Luxon, they're looking for wedges. They're looking for the things that separate us. I think that's one of the key lessons for all of us, is not to stoop to that level.
Where do you see synergies with the Greens and Te Pāti Māori?
We have a lot of values in common. I think, we also believe, all three of those parties, I think, believe in a more inclusive New Zealand, a more community-focused New Zealand, one where we recognise that our collective interests are as strong as our individual interests. So I think we have a common set of values in that regard. We have to recognise under MMP we need to work together. I think the Greens and Te Pāti Māori, if we were working with them, would have a share of influence that was proportionate to how much vote and how much a share of the vote they get from the New Zealand public. I think that's what people expect under MMP. I think the country's sick of being held to ransom by Winston Peters and David Seymour, quite frankly. But what it does make it very clear is if you're voting for Winston Peters and for New Zealand First, you're voting for Christopher Luxon and David Seymour and that coalition to continue. The Māori Party didn't have to go to the Privileges Committee, but I think they should have. They started a debate around tikanga in the House and then walked away from it. They should have showed up and said, actually, we stand by having more tikanga in the House, and this is what it looks like, and this is what Parliament should do to accommodate that.
Should we have more tikanga in the House?
Absolutely. But as a non-Māori New Zealander, I'm not going to tell Parliament what that should look like. I think our Māori members should actually be articulating that. They missed an opportunity to do that, constructively engaging in a debate around how the tikanga of the House can be improved. We've got some great Māori MPs now, but the opportunity we've got in 2026 is to get more. So there'll be some new candidates. So not all of those seats will be contested by people who are familiar faces. Some of them will be new, and that'll be really positive and that'll be really healthy.